Hey, welcome back. Today's topic is really important because when we think about perfectionism, it really can mess you up as a leader. It can mess your team up. It's something that is an easy trap to fall into. And I want to really think about a different way to handle things today than maybe we're used to when we think about what is perfect. Perfect sounds great, but like I said, it can be a trap. And so the thing that I see happening a lot is that perfectionism, it'll stall you, it'll stall a team, it will basically bring an organization to a screeching halt if you're not careful. But on the other hand, if you shift from perfectionism mindset to excellence mindset, that can be a game changer because the reality is that excellence is worth pursuing. Perfectionism is really an impossible target. And honestly, perfectionism is a target that keeps moving on you as you go over time because even if you hit the target today, it could look completely different next time. But excellence is something you can continually pursue, continually go after, because the way I define it is not anywhere close to what perfectionism does for you. Excellence to me is doing the best you can with what you have, where you are, and what you know. So if you are doing the best you can, even if it's not perfect, and it's not going to be anyway, right? But even if it's not perfect, you will give a quality effort. And excellence to somebody that's new in something versus somebody that's experienced, that's going to look different as well. But you can measure someone's effort of excellence by saying, okay, where are they in their journey? What do they know? What do they not know? Are they giving their best effort based on those factors? When it comes to client relationships, what can we as a company do based on our experience, the things that we know today? Can we be excellent to serve them? Of course you can, but it's a mindset shift. Now, to think, are we going to give perfect service every time? Not going to happen. Are we going to give a perfect product every time? Probably not going to happen, right? Even though that's what you're striving for on one level, it's an unrealistic standard that is going to let you down. It's going to let a lot of other people down. So I want to encourage you to shift your mindset as you're leading beyond perfectionism to thinking about how can we be excellent in all we do? How can I be excellent as a leader? How can we be excellent as a team? How can we be excellent as an organization to serve our customers and our clients? And so I want to jump in with once again three key ideas here that I think will help you. And the first is you have to reject perfectionism. You have to reject it and say that's not what we're going to be trying to do because of all these factors that I've already covered. Because here's the reality, progress beats paralysis. And when you're going after perfection, that whole idea of analysis paralysis can not just creep in, but it can like jump in the middle of your path and it can hold you back from really accomplishing much the way that you're really capable of. So if you reject perfectionism and you say, okay, progress is our goal, excellence is our goal, we're going to keep moving forward. That's why I love what technology companies often do, right? They launch a product as a beta test and they get feedback and they make adjustments as they go. The problem that I've discovered for too many leaders and individuals is we expect the first iteration to be the perfect final iteration, and it's not even realistic. I always use the analogy of when we were in school and teachers were teaching you how to write an essay, for instance, and they say, okay, I want you to write your first draft, and that's going to be that's what you're going to be graded on today. And then I'm going to give you feedback, and then you're going to write a second draft, and then get more feedback, and then there's going to be a final draft. That is the kind of thing I think if we think about, it will help us so much in our leadership and in our organizations because I can't expect myself or someone else to be perfect the first time. I can't expect myself to make progress. I can't expect you as an employee or team member to make progress. So when you're at least saying, hey, let's make progress, let's get things going, let's draft the first iteration of this, let's get it out there, let's start testing it, let's start poking holes in it, let's start seeing what works and what doesn't, and reviewing it, whether it's with the team or having customer feedback or market research feedback, whatever it may be. Make some progress, get something done so you can evaluate it. Don't be held up thinking we've got to make the final perfect product at the very beginning. That's just not reality. Now, I will say this, the caveat I always mention in this is there are certain industries where you can't just beta test as easily. So the automotive industry, you don't want to put out a car that's kind of good, that kind of won't break down, or the brakes kind of work, right? Or medical and healthcare. While there are experiments and there's testing and there's a process they go through, which once again is leading to the right outcome, they know that there are times where it may not work the right way. That's why they have people that come in and are willing to honestly take a risk to test. Maybe it's a new vaccine or maybe it's a new treatment or whatever it may be. They need help with experimentation before they roll out the final product. So I am realistic about that. I understand that depending on the industry you're in, there's things that you're going to have to be more cautious of than maybe other industries. That's my caveat that I always throw out there. However, in most instances, in most businesses that I work with and most leaders I talk to and coach, they have room and a lot of margin for error to just get something going and test it and see what's going on. And then what's the response to that? How does the product or service work? How is it received? Is it something that the market truly wants, or do we need to make adjustments? How does my team respond to this approach to a meeting structure? How does my team approach to my coaching style when I meet with them one on one? Those types of questions, those types of things can be figured out as you go. You can beta test certain things and pay attention to the feedback. What is working, what is not. And that's to me like leading like a scientist, experimenting. And I think there's a lot of value in that. But scientists can't be hung up on perfection on the first iteration, or else they would never get anything done. Thomas Edison and his light bulb would not have been figured out. It obviously wasn't figured out if on the first try. It took thousands of iterations and attempts. And so we need to just have a mindset of let's be excellent. Let's do the best we can with the resources, knowledge we have right now, but let's also keep getting better. Let's commit to progress and improvement rather than waiting till it's perfect, which it will never be, and then getting going. Because a lot of people get hung up on this, and it's a perfectionism trap. So that's where it stalls teams, it stalls individuals from success. The other part of this, I think, is you need to define quality clearly for yourself and for others. Do you have a clear way to communicate? What does quality look like? Because when you're clear on the front end, you prevent a lot of frustration on the back end. Let me say that again. When you're clear on the front end, you prevent a lot of frustration on the back end. If you have expectations that you've not communicated, for instance, and your employees don't meet your standard of which you didn't communicate, there's going to be a lot of frustration on your part and their part. But if you put together, here's a plan of what I want to see happen, here's the quality standard I want to have in our team and our organization, and you communicate that up front and everybody agrees and signs off on that and says, okay, I get it. This is our standard. Then you can evaluate honestly and even more rigorously because everybody's agreed to that standard. And if somebody's not pulling their weight in that, you can address that. If somebody's excelling, you can celebrate that. But you have to define clearly what quality actually is. So you can prevent a lot of your headaches on the back end of things by being clear on the front end of things. So, have you defined that? Have you written down what you expect? Have you communicated clearly? And not only that, have you ensured that you communicated clearly by asking for feedback and making sure people are clear? I forget who said this, but I think John Maxwell shared it in his book, Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. But it's this idea that the greatest flaw in communication is that it's actually happened. Like that's what people think is I said something and they should know it because I said it. You need to verify that they heard things properly. This happens all the time in personal relationships. It happens all the time in professional relationships. What one person says is not always heard the same way by the other person or the team. So communicate clearly and verify in that communication that they heard what you intended. When you do that, then once again, now you can actually assess, you can hold accountable, you can circle back and make sure things are moving along the way that everybody had agreed to. So first, you need to reject that perfectionism and focus on progress and forward movement, then you need to make sure you're defining things clearly so that everybody's on the same page and you can truly measure and hold accountable properly. And then also just continually pursue improvement. Once again, this is what I love about the beta testing process. And then once the beta test is over and the product is out in the market, guess what? Think about technology. We're constantly getting notifications that our mobile phones are being updated, uh, our web browsers are being updated, our software systems are being updated. That's because over time things need to be fixed. There are gaps that are found. But think about this. Think about Microsoft Word. If you were only using the first version of Microsoft Word and they never updated things when there was a problem, how frustrating would that be? If you were logging on to Google Chrome for your web browser and they never updated for security purposes and all the things they update for, how frustrating would that be? They would say, you know what, this is our one and only shot at this. And if there's a problem, we're out of luck. Like that just doesn't make sense in products like that. But it also doesn't make sense in leadership because the reality is that you're going to grow as a leader. Your people are going to be growing in their roles and their skills. There's going to be new challenges that you face. There's going to be things that you can't anticipate as much as you try. There's going to be external circumstances that you can't control. And so continually growing, continually be adjusting and shifting in your leadership so you can actually get things done is going to be pivotal. But you're continually pursuing improvement and making excellence a habit along the way. Because once again, it's not about being perfect, it's about doing the best you can with what you have at your disposal right now and based on the situation. Situations will change, skills will develop, gaps will be noticed, and then you can adjust. So I just want to encourage you. This is part of being adaptable, but pursuing excellence requires you to just have a different mindset shift than it's got to be perfect. I think that a leader who thinks that it's got to be perfect at step one, they stress themselves out, they stress their team members out, they actually hinder their influence because everybody feels under pressure all the time that they've got to get it perfect the first time. And just human nature, we're not going to. We're going to miss things. There's things that, I can't tell you how many projects that, I've drafted something and then I'll show it to somebody and say, hey, what do you think about this? And they're like, hey, did you think about this? Or did you think about that? Or, hey, I caught an error, a spelling error, or maybe we should do a different graphic for that, whatever it may be. That's why I always love to work in a collaborative environment to say, here's the draft. Tell me what you think and what can I change? What can I upgrade? What can I eliminate? When you do that as a leader, you give people freedom to try things. You give people freedom to fail, knowing that they're really going to fail forward and it's going to be progress for them as well as the team. So pursuing excellence and getting beyond perfectionism is so important as a leader. That's what magnetic leaders do. When you're a magnetic leader who truly attracts high quality people to you and you're striving for excellence, you inspire them. And that inspiration builds a culture of excellence. And then that retains your people because they want to be a part of a culture that is willing to take steps, take risk in a safe landing space, that I'm willing to try things because I know that the first iteration doesn't have to be the final iteration and have to be perfect. So I want to encourage you, maybe challenge you to really start thinking about this of are you being a perfectionist in your mindset or are you being having an excellence mindset? And once again, I think for your team, you could have a meeting and say, look, I've been too much striving for perfection. I stress myself out, I stress you out. I don't want to do that anymore. What we want to have is a culture of excellence. And here's what that means for us. And that goes back to that clarifying quality. What does that look like for you? What does excellence look like in your situation? So this is a great way to gain influence. It's a great way to keep moving forward and making progress without the added burden and pressure of being perfect. Perfection is really a myth in most cases. Very few things are truly perfect out there in the world. But excellence, you can be excellent at any point in your life. And you can be excellent today and look back 5 years from now and say, wow, we have come a long way. What I thought was excellent back then is no longer excellent today. It's so much different because we've grown, we've matured, we've developed, we have new opportunities, we have new tools available, whatever the case may be. Excellence today won't look excellent in the future if you keep making progress, but you have to work on being excellent today to get to that point later down the road. So this is one of the things I constantly kind of beat the drum for with leaders is don't let yourself be hijacked by perfectionism. Don't let yourself be frozen and don't let yourself fall into that paralysis of analysis mindset that can be out there. Instead, focus on doing the best you can with the resources and knowledge and experience and situation you're in. And that is excellence. It's a redefinition for many people, but you can be excellent with that definition. You're never going to be perfect. Very rarely are you going to be perfect. So, if you are looking to help your team grow and be more excellent and say, we need to increase the standard, we need to increase our skills, we need to make sure that we're all on the same page with how we're leading, how we're operating, then I really want to encourage you to go to McClureCoaching.com, schedule a free call with me, a free strategy session, and we can talk about where's your team today? Where would you like them to be? And then what are the steps between here and there that you need to take? Because that's the thing. We have aspirations of what we want to have accomplished, but we also have to recognize where our starting point is today, where we want to go, and then map out a plan of what's it going to take to get from here to there. That's what we do on that free strategy call, and I'd love to help you with that. And then if out of that call you say, you know what, Chris, I need help personally, so we can talk about coaching, or my team needs help, we can talk about workshops or training, coaching, group coaching programs, whatever it may be. But the call is free to sit down and define where am I, where do we want to go, and what do I need to do between here and there. And if you want to run with that on your own, I'm going to send you off with my blessing. But if you realize I need help or our team needs help, then I'm more than happy to talk about what that could look like working together. So focus on leading beyond perfectionism. Focus on leading with excellence, being clear in your communication of what that looks like in your team, and then pursue continual improvement so you can just keep getting better over and over and over again because someday you'll look back and be amazed at how far you've come when you have this mindset. So take care, God bless, and we will see you next time.